Hello and welcome to the Curiosity and Consciousness podcast with me, Karen Maloney. I am your host, and the intention of this podcast is to help us open our minds, get curious about ourselves, and to raise our vibration and consciousness levels. Through these conversations, we hope that you will go on an inward journey to discover the truth of who you are and to become aware of your own energy and vibration. We have the power to consciously create our lives, but we need to wake up to this fact before we can begin the process and learn the key of self-responsibility. Check out the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Acast, Castbox, or whatever platform you listen on, and please like, subscribe, and share the podcast. Leave a review, leave a rating, as this will help it to reach more people. Check out my website as well, Soul Power Light, www.soulpowerlight.com. Hello everybody, welcome. How are you all doing today? How are you getting on? How is the year going so far? How are you feeling? I hope you're taking time to check in, to connect with yourself, to tune in a couple of times throughout the day and just see how you're doing. And remember to always be compassionate towards yourself. You know, there's a lot going on, lots of shifts. We're still in this time of restriction and transition. And yes, it can be frustrating, but also releasing ourselves of that and just leaning into and honoring how we're feeling and taking off the pressure and having lots of compassion and patience for ourselves and gratitude for what is going to help us elevate and shift through it as well. And a conversation I want to share with you today is about our thoughts and actually how our thoughts can really make a situation so much tolerable or better or slightly easier, or how they can really make it so insufferable and intolerable. And thoughts and mindset have been coming up so strong for me so far this year. I've shared a couple of posts and a few videos on my Instagram as well, talking about thoughts, our mental diet, and actually the power we have over our thoughts, and how, for me, that is the work. The work is the transition in learning what thoughts are not ours and consciously stepping in and choosing better feeling thoughts in each and every moment until that becomes a new second habit and way of being that is easier because we are more awake, alert, and conscious. So that is the work. And that's something, you know, I've been doing for a while. But again, it's just, there's always new levels. It always just blows my mind, the new levels of comprehension and depth and clarity we can have around a topic, even if we feel like we've had a lot of clarity or been really aware. But there's always levels and levels and levels. And that is why I just adore the inner work, personal development, spiritual development, because literally, it is infinite. There are so many levels as we constantly, and it's not constant as in a desperation, but when we lean into it, it's a natural progression of we're led to new things that will elevate us, raise our vibration, and raise and expand our consciousness even more. And it's just such an exciting and magic path. So, like that, today's topic is talking around our thoughts as well and the power our thoughts hold. And I'm going to share with you an experience that I did recently where, again, I became so conscious of my thoughts, and I saw and felt clearly how my thoughts were impacting so much more on the experience and making it so much more difficult and harder than it actually was. And once I released them again and connected to my inner core and inner peace and inner truth and stillness that is always there within us all, it is the essence of us, how everything shifted. So recently I did a temazcal, and a temazcal is like an indigenous sauna. And basically it's a ceremony, it's a ritual, it's done with huge reverence and respect to Mother Earth, to the fire spirits, the people who make the fire throughout the day. They call in the spirits, the different energies, the ancestors, and they're nurturing and watching and talking to the fire and Mother Earth. And then they heat rocks of all different sizes, stones of all different sizes on this fire as well. And then that is what is used inside in the temazcal. So the temazcal is always done outdoors in nature, and usually it's a wooden structure of branches that are woven in kind of an igloo type shape, where it's semicircular, sitting on the ground, and a small doorway in and out. And then usually they put loads of blankets and covers on top that keeps the heat in. So everyone who is joins, and they put their intentions into the fire as well beforehand. They make their energy known to the space that they are joining today. And then everyone goes in, and there's a certain way in which you enter and all those kind of things, and you take your spot. And the ceremony itself, once you're inside there, usually can last about 3 hours. A little bit more sometimes and a little bit less. Again, it depends on the energies of the day and who shows up and how it's all going. I'd only done one once before in Cusco a number of years ago, and it was tough going. But this one, since the start of the year, I really just wanted to do a temazcal. It was coming up for me and I hadn't found one. And then when I found this one, I was like, yes, I'm in, I'm doing it. So everyone's sitting inside, and then they start to bring in the rocks that have been heated all morning on the fire. And I mean, some of them the last day, they were literally glowing red the whole way through. It was like, oh my God. There were 8 of us in total in the temazcal, and you go in like just shorts or a little dress or something like that, and then they start the ceremony, and they do a ceremony to each of the 4 directions, and in between each of the directions they open the door for a couple of moments, so you have a few moments respite before they start the next section of the ceremony. So we started, and there we were. And it's beautiful as well because they use lots of herbs and different powders and medicines. So you're getting all these beautiful aromas as well that are obviously working internally and externally and just helping you as well. So anyway, we started, and oh my God, it was so hot. I mean, they just keep throwing water and water and water and water and water on these rocks. And I meant to say as well, once you're inside, it's completely black. So it's completely, once they close the door, it's pitch black. There is no light whatsoever. And that's part of the ceremony as well, that you're in darkness. And also it's small, as in you cannot stand up inside this place. You crawl in on your hands and knees, and you kind of sit in your hunkers or cross-legged, and that's how you remain for the ceremony. So yeah, so we started, and it was hot. I mean, oh my God, there was times I felt I couldn't even breathe through my nose or my mouth because it was stinging so much. The heat, the tips of my ears, the very tops of my ears were on fire, absolutely on fire. And that's part of it as well. You're like meeting your resistances, your blocks, and you know, there's people screaming, there's people roaring, and all these kind of things. And it's a releasing, it's a form of medicine as well, and it's a form of like that releasing, letting go, surrendering, meeting your resistances and your blocks, your mental power, connecting with your breath. They're all the things that are going to help you move through the ceremony. So, and then they start singing as well. So that's really nice and distracts you for a little bit. So like that, it was really intense. Like round 1, so intense. But we made it, had a little respite before the second one. Second one again, really intense. Like I just cannot even describe the heat. Like it was literally prickling. It felt like needles on my skin. It was so hot. But then the third round was when it got really super hot. And I should have known, even it was called, I think it was Shipa or something like that was the word they used. And it means taking off the outer layer of your skin, the layers that you're ready to let go of, metaphorically and symbolically. That was like, okay, we're all like, we're ready for this. And then at one stage, the guide said, lie down on the ground and do not move. When I lay down, I was like, oh my God, I just knew it was going to get hot. And it did. It stung every inch of my body. I felt like if I ripped my skin off of my body, it would have been less pain than what I was feeling in those moments. It was absolutely horrendous. And like that, you're on the ground. Even when you're on the ground, it was super hot. Normally you have a little bit of respite if you're on the ground because the heat rises. So on the ground, it was torturous that I was like, oh my God, I can't even get up because I know it's going to be worse. But then if you moved an inch, it was like even worse. It was like you ran into a waterfall of just needles and piercing pain on your skin. So in this, and I was in the fetal position lying on my side, and it was just horrendous. And in my mind, all I was focused on was the pain, the burn, the heat, the intensity. When was it going to stop? It was awful. I wasn't going to survive. It wasn't possible. All these kind of things of how horrendous this was, how painful it was, how horrible it was. And believe me, it was. I wasn't just making these things up. But then I remembered, I was like, okay, I cannot focus on it because this is not going to help me. So I was like, find the peace within, find the peace within, find the peace within, connect to my breath, connect to my breath. So that started repeating in my mind. So I did. And at first I got really frustrated because I was like, where is the peace within? Oh my God, how do I find it? This is horrendous. And then I caught myself and I realized, I was like, oh no, the peace is always there. The peace is always there. And once I had that moment of clarity and connection again, I was like, oh yeah. So then I was in this place of peace. I just connected to my breath and I was just in that inner stillness. I just felt it, I observed it, and I could feel and see the stillness within, that kind of quiet center. Like every storm has a still center, like a tornado, a hurricane. The center is so still and calm. And that's exactly what I connected to within me. And within that moment, and again, I didn't have to find it. I didn't have to struggle for it. I just had to stop all my struggles, surrender, let them go, stop all the thoughts that were thinking against and keeping me out of this place of inner peace, because that's all it was. It was my thoughts and where I was focused on the pain, on the intensity, on the heat, on the suffering. That's the only thing that kept me disconnected from my inner peace. So the moment I let go of my thoughts and the struggle and the fight and just felt and breathed into that stillness within, everything changed. And everything changed in the sense of now I could be with the pain. Now I could be with the intensity. Now I could be with the heat. Now I could be with the uncomfortableness of it all. And it was like I just became the conscious observer of it all. I was watching it all. And that didn't mean that it still wasn't painful or I didn't feel like my skin was, I'd prefer to rip it off me. Those sensations were still there, but I wasn't focused on them anymore, so they weren't as intense. Instead, I was observing them from the place of inner stillness and peace. And in this place, I could be with all of these sensations without them consuming me. And that was just epic. That was so epic. And that changed everything from that moment forward. And again, the struggle was there. Again, the intensity was there. But I was now connected and focused on the stillness within while I was observing all these sensations, as opposed to being caught up in the mental trap and the mental story of how horrendous and painful and horrible it was. And if you haven't had an experience like this, what I'm describing may seem a little bit strange or out there. But I'm sharing this because it just hit me smack in the face again, how that inner truth, that inner stillness, that calm, that core, that love, that peace, that ease. That is the truth of all of us. And that is within us every single second of the day, every moment from the minute we take our first breath until we leave this body with our last breath. That stillness, that calm, that peace is there. It is us. It is our essence. We are the only ones blocking it by thinking ourselves away from it, by focusing on the hardships, the pains, the struggles. And again, that's not to say they don't exist. They do. But when we are focused on them fully, we actually exasperate our feelings of hardship and hard done by more so than if we connect to the inner peace and we can be with them and observe them. And from this space, we have the capacity to rise, to move through anything, to find our inner strength, to be resilient. And, you know, by sharing this experience as well, you might be like, God, Karen, that sounds horrendous. Why would you do such a thing? And the thing is, when we put ourselves in these situations that are really in a lifetime momentarily uncomfortable, again, we begin to learn our own capacities, our own inner strength, our own power, our own resilience, the peace and the essence of who we are, and how actually that is more true and solid than anything on the external. Anything on the external is just passing. It's impermanent, as Buddha says. Everything is rising and passing away. This too shall pass. It comes and it goes. It ebbs and it flows. But we keep ourselves stuck in it because we attach and get involved in it. We allow ourselves to get consumed by it. And that happens through our thoughts. Through our thoughts, the meaning we attach to what is happening, and by focusing all our attention on it. When we connect to that inner stillness again, our thoughts dissipate, they become calmer, we connect to our breath, and we can be with everything, and we can find creative solutions out of it. And that is how we grow in strength and resilience. And that is how we expand. And that is how we learn our capacity of who we are as a human being and what we are capable of as a human being. And again, you know, yes, it was horrendous at times, but then afterwards I just felt so alive. And when we came out, we dipped in the freezing cold river, and then we bathed ourselves in lovely warm herbal water and got dressed again and had really nice food and shared conversations. And again, it's just the beauty of feeling, really. And that's another message that came to me so strongly, that really life is all about feeling it all, because we only know what's really good, and we only truly appreciate the small things and the beauty and the simplicity when we've been through really shit and hard times. So feeling it all, we only know the good from the bad, the high from the low. And when we open ourselves up to feel it all, not only the good, the bad as well, again, we just grow and we expand. I was just so moved by the whole experience. I'm so excited, also slightly nervous, but really excited to do it again, because not only that, there are so many health benefits, you know, such a deep purge and a detox, and my skin is absolutely glowing today. I look about 10 years younger. I always talk about how I really like putting myself in short-term pain for long-term gain. As in putting myself in these moments of real uncomfortableness, pushing myself to my edge, not in the sense out of desperation or because I feel like it's something I need to do, but because I learn so much more about myself, and I feel like I'm reborn every time, and I find this new inner strength and renewal that then helps me in every capacity in my life. And that's why all growth happens outside of our comfort zone. And if we're not growing, we're not going anywhere. Tony Robbins says, if you're not growing, you're dying. So it's all about growth, expansion, experiences, feeling it all, and knowing, finding and connecting and building that inner stillness that is always there, but getting to know it, and getting to know it so well, and building that relationship that in an instant, even in the most horrendous, I'm doing quote unquote, situations, we can connect to it instantly and find a new way out, find a new strength. And that's the power of it. And this experience reminded me of a similar experience I had in a silent retreat a couple of years ago. The exact same thing. I was struggling, I was fighting, I was focused. I was so hungry. It was the hour before lunchtime. I was trying to figure out in my head how long we'd been sitting. I was focused on the pain, the aches in my body, my legs, my back. I was just mentally fighting every second. And it was horrendous. It was awful because you weren't allowed to move and there was no clocks. I had no idea what time it was. But again, I had put myself in that situation because it was my thoughts that was exasperating everything. Whereas then I just caught myself, and again I had a moment of clarity where I was just like, oh my God, I don't need to worry about when the bell is going to ring. All I need to worry about is this moment and just feeling good in this moment. And then I was like, and then this moment, and then this moment, and then this moment, and then this moment. And that's all I did. I focused on the moment to moment, the breathing. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm okay. And when I came back to the moment and to my breath, and again, that inner silence, the thoughts stopped. And then the pain dissipated. I wasn't in as much agony in my body. I didn't feel it as much, and I wasn't as focused and worried about when the bell was going to ring. All I was like, I just need to breathe through this moment, and then this moment, and then this moment, and then this moment. And you know what? Next thing, the bell rang, and I wasn't in as much agony. So my intention for sharing this story is, again, on the power of our thoughts, and to help you to become more consciously aware of your thoughts. And like that, I've shared some posts and videos recently on my Instagram because it's just coming up. And if we are not the conscious driver of our thoughts and stepping in and choosing things that best support us in the moment, we will forever be the sufferer of our thoughts. And believe me, we suffer at the hands of our thoughts. We are imprisoned by them. They can be really brutal. But again, we have the power to flip it in an instant. And that is the work. That is the work. And that's hopefully the message I'm sharing with you today, or that you're getting from my sharing of this story and this experience I had again, and this moment of clarity of moving out of my thoughts again, connecting to my breath and that inner stillness. And then I could be with the experience without the battle and the struggle and the fight, and I could grow from it. And we all have the capacity to do that. That's actually what we're born to do and how we're born to be. But again, we're not taught this in school or society. These are things we learn on our own internal personal growth journey. So I encourage you to, again, get curious. What are your thoughts saying to you? How are your thoughts exasperating your situation? How are your thoughts maybe making you feel really shit or struggling so much? And again, I shared a video that we're not our thoughts. They come from the collective. So we have to be highly conscious of what we are thinking in order to be able to step in to question them and go, this is not mine. Why am I thinking this? Why am I believing this thought? This is totally not mine. And choosing something that is better for us. So that is it for today's episode. Like that, I hope you got something from it, and please let me know. And please share this episode as well with someone who you think may get some benefit from it. And as always, I just invite you to get curious about yourself. Really go inwards and get curious about yourself. Live your life from a place of curiosity and start that inner journey, because it is so magic. You will learn things about yourself that you didn't even think was possible. There is a power in there, a life force in there, a soul, an essence that is magic, and it has nothing to do with superiority or power over another or ego. Absolutely not. It is total love and oneness and community and connection. It is the truth of who we are. And I invite you to explore and do things for yourself that help you to know that truth and allow that truth to spread from you. Until next time, take care. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you get notified every time a new show is released. Get more information on this week's guest as well on my website, www.soulpowerlight.com.